Well. Hello, everybody. This is True Powers Mind. Oh, my God. Where to begin? Yesterday's show was absolutely fucking amazing. Um, Hold on. Let me get this in frameage. Everything is. I have no cameraman or personnel, whatever. I'm only doing this live to address a couple of things. One, once again, I'm still at a loss for the phone situation last night. So glad it did go down the way it did. Number two, fucking Mark from Anaheim. Wow. Now, I'm going to go on the record here and say that I was a little intoxicated, drunk, whatnot, last night. Oh, man, I was pounding them down pretty hard all day. But I hope that you all enjoyed the show. I felt like I got a little belligerent there towards the end, because I was just fucked up. I was drunk, dude, So the reality is I'm going to personally stop drinking on the show. I mean, not because of, anything like that or anything in particular. I just want to give it a shot a few times. If I like it, I'm just going to chill with it because I already said, I'm changing like not like the whole perception by no means, but just, what I'm about, what I'm demonstrating because I'm aware of being watched now. So, oh my God, I don't even know where to begin. There's a lot of good things coming down the pike. For one, all kinds of people want to help actually promote the show now, make it bigger, get the subs, get the views and all that good shit. Number two, we're about ready to hit winter time. So, that as winter gets colder or whatnot, more shows are going to obviously be coming out. I work pretty much outside for a living, so it is what it is on that. And I guess, just the new people that I have coming up, some of you may have heard of them. Some of you may have not. The biggest guest I think I have coming up, and it'll be in next month. And this is just so far. It's a gentleman named L.A. Marzulli. You can Google him on YouTube and shit, I just want to, start being more dynamic as a show. I want to actually just expand, man. That's all I can say, really. Just expand it all. Because right now, I'm feeling as if I'm not doing my full potential. I'm getting some great people on, no fucking doubt about it. Seriously. But I just feel this drive, man. I know I can get more. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting off on it like some sort of drug or something. Tracking down people, calling them up, getting them on the show, getting to know them for real. I don't know. I do dig the hell out of it. I would be, honestly, or else I wouldn't be doing it. But I really need your help, guys. I really need more suggestions. I don't give a fuck how like crazy you think. I got Professor Nichols because someone took the time and texted me, "Hey man, why don't you try getting this cat on?" And they sent me like a link to his video on YouTube. I checked him out. And then the gears in my mind to start going. I tracked him down on the internet, gave him a phone call. He didn't even answer, dude. I just left a message. It was like a couple of days later, he called me back. We talked. And then, that was Thursday. And then Friday, me, him, and Dimebag talked. And boom, he was on the show. So, I mean, these things can happen pretty quickly. or else, you know, it took me a hot minute to get Jane Elliott. You know, I tracked her down. Then I was hesitant about calling her. Finally called her, and then boom, everything went perfect. You know, but there have been people like a gentleman I can't name, I won't name. All right, me and Dimebag were on the line together on the three-way, right? And once again, I used my little phone skills. We actually caught up with this dude, right? We're like, hey, brother, you know, hopefully you checked out the show. You want to come on the show? You know, we really want, you know, let our listeners hear about what you're all about, right? I'm all excited and shit. And this dude goes, man, yeah, we looked at y'all shit. It looked like something, you know, somebody threw together. And, you know, maybe, you know, once you guys get a little bigger, you know, we'll holler at. And I was like, and then the dude had the audacity at the end of the conference talk about, yo, just email us over some other shit, you know, and then we'll hit you up. Man, I clicked this fool off the line, right? Me and Dimebag's talking. And, you know, a lot of y'all don't know, but, you know, in the very beginning, like Dimebag was straight up kind of anti-guest in a way. And I get what he was saying. You know, the show's supposed to be our show, supposed to be our random bullshit, our fucking thoughts and blah, blah, blah. I like the show aspect because I like bringing in, you know, I feed off of other people's thoughts like a vampire or something. But we start having the guest on. And now, because of that show last night, I have a fucking Facebook fucking mailbox full of fucking notes and full of fucking show ideals and full of some pretty crazy talk as well. But I just, you know, for once again, I just have to go on the record and thank Mark from Anaheim. You know, I mean, a lot of people say that older folks and blah, blah, blah aren't willing, you know, to help younger guys or new guys coming up or, you know, any of that. Well, hopefully y'all see right now that Mark from Anaheim doesn't fit that bill. You know, this is a brother that has been on, you know, really good shows, actually high quality shows. You know, Carl Nelson is no fucking fly by night or something put together operation by no fucking means. And he, you know, and Mark, you know, is on point with what he's talking about. That's what I like. You know, he will never bullshit us. He'll never be like, oh, I just know I'm the master of thought. You know what I'm saying? But there is a gentleman I'm going to be calling here soon. I would call him tonight, but it's like 2 o'clock in the fucking morning. And I really want to get this guy on. I know he has contractual obligations, and I get it. But, you know, also, I listened to the video last night. Oh, my God, man. All I can say at the end when I was talking a bunch, honestly, as much beer as I had consumed and whiskey yesterday, I just think it's a miracle I was able to talk, you know, coherently at all. You know, so some of those statements, you know what I'm saying, I just had to chalk it up to, you know, semi-alcohol poisoning. You know, I was way out of character, way kind of left field. I don't know where all that was coming from for real, but I'm more of a, you know, I'm just more of a rational, in the middle of the road type guy. You know, the only thing I really get radical with is like people just straight up wanting to straight up control other people without true just reasons. You know, I mean, hell, there was a point in time where just drinking a beer in America was against the law. So, you know, that's what I get radical about. Some of these nonsense laws that we have on the book, they're only serving to keep those prisons filled and keep those private prison stockholders happy with dividend checks. But as far as the show is moving forward, I see a very, very bright future for the other morning show. And all the shows, all three of the major shows. We have the other morning show, of course, Random BS, Special Report. So, and then, I even believe Dimebag has a couple more series, Life and Time, a Dimebag story as well. I'm looking for personally, and I'm sending this out, whether you have a YouTube channel or not, I would like to start setting up captains and lieutenants in every state. If I'm getting a check mark by your little YouTube name, you holler at me directly. I'll put you on True Power's Mind site, bleed over contents on Dimebag TV as well. But I want to start initiating this immediately so we can start building this network of people, of real tangible people who are all on the same page with what we're really talking about. So I guess without further ado, if there's any independent journalists, any philosophers, any educators that really want to pick up the mantle and help, hit me up. Hit me up in the comments below. We do have the other morning show email address. Should be the other morning show 17@gmail.com. I'm going to start promoting that, getting that contact hub out. But also I want to make something explicitly clear. I talk about end time topics. I talk about UFOs. I talk about political. I talk about social justice. But one thing I want to make explicitly clear. I am talking about, and I'm totally sober right now, not one drink in me. I had to recoup today. I'm talking about all of humanity, saving it all. Not just a piece, not just a portion. I'm certainly not talking about making the same mistakes we've seen over and over. Now, if people don't understand that or they don't dig that, well, that's not my problem, straight up. I do have some people in my inner circle, right, that people may think they're this way or that way. Honestly, all I have to say to those folks is fuck you. And you're the type of motherfucker always judging books by covers. And I'm not trying to deal with you clowns anyhow. That's why when I always reach out to people, I make sure they understand my target audience isn't the average kid, the blah, 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 well on their way to becoming just like, another baby boomer. No, I'm talking to the folks out here who are actually thinking and who actually want to figure this shit out, who actually wants to work together, who actually wants the fucking change shit, not just for bullshit, not just for temporary, but the long game for all of us. That's who I'm talking about. If I get 1 million fucking hits, that's great. If I get fucking 1 or 2 hits, that's cool too. Because I've always said, even in the very beginning, down in, behind Dimebag's house when the show started off, that, man, this show is for motherfuckers like 200 or 300 years from now. I want them to be able to look back if any of this digital media actually lasts and say, hey, there's a couple motherfuckers at least that understood, because the rest of us, are kind of wilding out right about now. But that's neither here nor there. Now, I had an ideal. I'm almost scared, but maybe, you guys can give me feedback on this as well. But I would love to get Jane Elliott and Dr. Jason Nichols on together, and maybe even trio. Have Jane Elliott, Dr. Nichols, and Dr. Badalora. All three of them, but I just don't know if my phone has that type of capacity. That's why I would have to either pair, and seeing how Jane and Jacqueline, or Dr. Badalore rather, already did a show on, I believe, the Philippe Mathis. I actually checked that brother out again and start because he's very rational. I like promoting people who think rationally. They're not too much of an ideologues. But have Dr. Nichols on from last night, Jane Elliott, kind of like a Judge Joe and Mark show combo series, because I know that show has received so much criticism. All right, I know that show was different than what you would probably expect to see. All right, but that's what made that show so beautiful, and I still stand behind that production 110%. And I think it's time for us to try it out again. Try it out again. Definitely, we'll keep. We'll actually make like a tentative ideal sheet. These are what we're going to talk about, even though we probably segue off of it because that's just how I am. But we'll get these two guys on, or these two individuals. They're not guys. One's a guy, one's a woman, or whatever. And we'll have questions, and I want solutions. I don't want it to be like a rehash of like any other older videos. I want this to be all new and fresh. I mean, even with Dr. Nichols, this last interview, we didn't get I wanted to get to a better place, but the phone disconnected. And, the last question I asked him was, Dr. Nichols, could you please explain the importance of Black male masculinity? And why is it so important? And then it's like, bam. And that's where we were lost for a second till I made the executive decision along with the chat room there. And you guys actually was like, hey, if I could call up Mark. And I was like, okay, bam. Now, we can't be doing that all the time, guys. Actually, we'll probably never do that again. Because, for one, oh my God, looking at it from a legal standpoint, you know what I'm saying? If Mark wasn't a good friend, that could have been very ugly. You know what I mean? Calling someone you're on, a live platform like that. I didn't think it through because, once again, I'm not using this as a cop out or a crutch. I'm just using it as a rational explanation. Drinking large quantities of alcohol and doing a talk show sometimes, often, do not mix. Yesterday, it turned out gravy and it was really cool. But in hindsight, I'm like, wow, that was a bit of a risk. So, I'm once again thankful for Mark coming on. Absolutely. And being a good sport about it all the way around. That's why I'm saying that, for me, the show and me and bringing on guests is just more than, hey, how you doing? I'm a sales guy, blah, blah, blah. No, it's hey, I'm a human being. You're a human being. Let's talk about life. Let's talk about real stuff. And we develop a relationship, and then we move on, So, I'm even looking to reach out to, I wanted actually Karen Chester from Normal, have another interview and really dabble into, why does it take states so long to come around to these very simple issues? Why are we still, it's like going through this prohibition and all this good stuff, and the legal ramifications of that. Also, if you guys know of any, I'm trying to find a good economist. I want an economist. I mean, someone that you guys will actually trust. If you know of one, if you don't, I'll just try to find one. But I want to get one on, and I want to really break down the economy to the simplest level, so we all can really get on page with just how fragile this thing is. Also, if by chance, you guys want me to reach out to John Lear again, or any other UFO person, hear about UFOs, please hit me up. Let me know. I've been really wanting to do a good UFO show. but I just don't. I just don't have the time. It seems like. So I'm actually really tired. You know, I'm getting tired because of one reason. It's like the more you think you know about this thing, I'm talking about the total system now, the more you realize you don't. It's like get smart, but you're just constantly going through another fancy dancy door, just another one, just another. You know, it's like there is no real end to this rabbit hole. And then it gets so weird when you start talking to people. Someone asked me to reach out to David Icke. Now, I haven't talked to David Icke himself. Well, thank you, Zero. I'm glad you enjoyed the show. I haven't talked to David Icke himself, but I talked to some people. I guess they act as if they were close to him. You know, I've talked to him several times. But when we start talking about reptilians, when we start talking about media, it's just repeating footnotes and it's being sent down the chain of like this evil cabal of people. They have a chain, and that's why you can turn on any channel and you're getting the same 5-second news packages. To the average person who you know doesn't follow these type of topics, you're going to lose them so fast and in a hurry. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. You know, I mean, do I believe in lizards underneath this ground? No. Do I believe in alien races outside of Earth? Absolutely. It's so probable. And even the inside Earth thing, I'm not totally for sure about that. You know, I mean, we have to recognize that, one, we don't know anything, hardly, scientifically speaking. Two, if there were intelligent life forms and they can adequately judge us for what we are, come on, it's not hard to understand why they're playing the longest game of hide and seek ever. You know, I mean, if I was an alien and I saw, or I don't care, you know, how curious I may be, I would be like, these guys are straight fucking savages. They're killing each other. They're manipulating each other. They're deceiving each other. No, I'm good. That's what I would think personally. So that's why, you know, you could be like, oh, you're just using that to justify crazy belief. You know, it is what it is. We all got our hiccups. There is a gentleman, though. I saw him on a TED Talk. I forget his name. He's like a physicist. How would you guys like to have a physicist on the show and actually talk about, you know, like the advanced science, you know, whatever, you know, or do you guys just want to just keep on going down this political road? I can bring on politicians. I can bring on fucking lawyers. I can bring on judges. I can bring on whoever. But I want to start expanding this out, you know? I don't want to be just so one-dimensional because honestly, guys, I get tired with politics because at the end of the day, without the numbers, your political stuff isn't going to go anywhere. It's not. And then once, you know, the reality that you're not making money doing whatever movement you're doing, it just goes to shit. People disappear. They have to drop out. They have to go back to work. They have to make money. And you're left there looking like a lunatic. So I'd much rather stay in that happy medium where you can operate and maneuver, you know, because I know that we got a lot of brothers out there and sisters that can touch on topics that I wouldn't necessarily touch on, but I would still support them. All right. We don't need to have all of our guys and gals in one bucket. We need to spread out. We need to come at this thing from different angles. We need to be united amongst ourselves, of course. And that's one thing I'm very huge on. You know, like right now, I want to plug a few people. I want to plug We All Be TV, Brother Ron. You know, if you saw the show last night, brother, sorry for calling you so late. All right. Obviously, I want to plug Dimebag TV. I want to plug Cobra Immortal on YouTube. You know, I want to plug Fresh Out, Real Prison Talk. I want to plug the Avice Show with Phil, Brother Phil. You know, I want to plug 7 Mile Radio, Brother Judah Knows, out there in Detroit, and they're on YouTube. You know, I want to plug Chicago. I want to plug Chicago. And then even brother who said up there, Pharaoh knows, Pharaoh says that. Older guy. He comes with a lot of real sense. You know, he's a Rastaman. He's not from this earth. And those are his words. You know, there's a lot of great folks out here doing a lot of good things. So what we need to happen is now we have to start communicating amongst ourselves. You know, that's why I want to really start, you know, helping out younger, or not younger, but smaller YouTube channels, people who have ideals. They just want to share them, get the information out. Man, I'm just saying, unlike a lot of people, this door here is open because so many people have been open to me. How can I shut the door on someone else? You know, if you need, you know, as long as what you're coming at with to me is real and I can feel what you're saying. Obviously, you know, if your interest and my interest don't link up, you know what I'm saying? It's not I'm shutting the door. It's just that I'm just not interested. You know what I'm saying? But I know there's a lot of YouTube channels out there, and trust me, I go through tons and tons of them daily, looking at different stuff that has great content and great value, but it's so underrated. And then you can see where people, you know, they put their heart and souls in this thing, and then you'll see that they go a year or two without posting anything new. They just lose the dream, and then they go elsewhere. And I guess it's easy to do. You know what I mean? This is only my, I guess, second real time trying to do YouTube or whatever. But and this is primarily on a platform. I mean, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook as well, but I'm very seldom there. I mean, honestly, I only go to Facebook for one reason, and that's to troll Mark's pages and, you know, talk to a few friends. So actually 2 reasons. But that's why I don't comment that much. I'm normally reading Dazed, Scared, and Confused, you know, Political Sarcasm 101. So it's one of those things that when we start looking at the effect, because we were talking about things on the show last night. Mark had mentioned Argentina. Well, lo and behold, hold on, let me jump over here. I went over here to the little deal here. If the story's still up here, it might not be, because they move stories in and out really fast on here. But there was a story about Argentina and how bad their money has basically depreciated. And that's why I wanted a true economist on this show. So then we can get into what would it look like if America, the United States of America, rather, had some issues with our money. All right. So, you know, the reality is this. No empire lasts forever. History has proven it time in and time again. You know, I mean, even look at the fall of the so-called British Empire. It first started with like kind of social degrade, and then expanded out to their little territories. And, you know, I mean, don't get it twisted. Now, the Queen of England is still the richest person in the world. They'll never tell you that, but trust me, she is. But where is that? Oh, there was another YouTube I wanted to plug. Dan Calloway. Haven't talked to this brother yet. Pretty elusive feller, if you ask me. Kind of hard to find. But Hold on. What the heck? If you guys ever heard of this man, his name is James Randi. I'm going to reach out to him and try to actually get him on the show. I know he's like 90 something years old, really old. Hold on. Where is... Man, there was a video I wanted to show you guys. There's O'Don Shipley, Matt. Yeah, I have a weird taste in videos. I'm pretty much everywhere. Oh, this guy's a trip. Just found him. Mr. Hardcore Relationship. Hold on. If I can get to history. You guys have to see this one, though. What is it? Okay. You guys have to hear. It reminded me of the show that me and Dimebag done.
Sexual side of it, they'll help you out. They'll connect you in a good way, and all
right, hold on, dude. There's this one. It'll only take a second. I just gotta get to it. God, this guy got a ton of fucking videos. I wonder if there's some way I can kind of search. It's just a lot of fucking videos, dude. Uh-oh, he must be some far right guy. I didn't know. I thought what he said was hella funny, actually, but what the fuck? But most people with extreme opinions on females, they typically do have, you know, they're either far right or far left. Not too many moderates in that crowd. This cat, hold on, man. Let me just go like this. Oh, this is. Oh, yeah. Hold on. When we think dinosaurs, you should be thinking bullshit. All right. Let's skip this stupid ad. Hold on.
People think that you're born strong. No, you're not born strong. You're born as weak as the next man. It's practice. It's endurance. It's working out. I'm not talking about working out in terms of lifting weights. I'm talking working out your soul. The willingness to leave a bad woman behind will strengthen you. Remaining with a bad woman will weaken you. Okay? Okay. Okay, I don't have anything more to say.
No, that ain't the part.
There's a reason that no man can respect a cuck. Okay? No man can respect a cuck because we know at bottom that there is a weakness to him. And a lot of people think that you're born strong. No, you're not.
Okay, it has to be right.
But it's the belief that you won't. The lack of self-confidence. That's what creates beta orbiters. That's what creates cucks. Okay? And you never want to be any of these three men. Beta orbiter, yeah, sure. When you're a kid, when you don't know any better. But once you get grown up and you're moving on into the world, you don't want to be a beta orbiter. And you sure as shit don't want to be a cuck.
That right there. I don't know what this guy's political ideology is. I really don't. But I do.
Are you talking to me?
But I do know that what he's saying is true. You know, I don't know. Honestly, I just found this video today. I skimmed through it like I normally do. And what he says, man, is so fucking true. Hold on. I have to play it just one more time.
Okay? But it's the belief that you won't. The lack of self-confidence.
That's so fucking true.
That's what creates beta orbiters. That's what creates cucks. Okay? And you never want to be any of these three men. Beta orbiter, yeah, sure. When you're a kid, when you don't know any better. But once you get grown up and you're moving on into the world, you don't want to be a beta orbiter. And you sure as shit don't want to be a cuck. Okay?
The only reason why that shit's so funny because what he's saying in you know, I'm not going to do the whole video, obviously. Copyrights. I'm shocked I didn't get hit with something right now, but now let's apply what he's talking about to people, to groups of people. Let's bring out the big ass brush. Whenever you have a group of people, they have a belief that they cannot, or they will not, or they could not. You just cucked the whole damn group. They're not even beta orbiters. They're cucks. You got to get out of that mindset of, oh my God, and get into that mindset, oh fucking yes, I can. Straight up. You know, I mean, yes, he's talking about as far as women and men relationship. But the funny thing about the truth is you can take it and apply it to anything and you'll get the same results. That's why you know it's true and not just some fucking bullshit lie. And so many of us have, unfortunately, you know, given up on reality. And now we went to the straight up fucking fairy tale land, man. You know, the reason, hold on. This is that other brother. Hold on, I haven't seen this one. It's an old one. It's only 4 minutes. Prison talk. The thing about this brother, he doesn't like glorify shit. He just
what's up, everybody? This is Big Kirk with Prison Talk. And I had another question from one of our viewers. What does the shot caller look like in the pen? Now, I read a comment. Somebody says, well, he doesn't look like a big black guy. Well, he don't necessarily look like a big Mexican guy or a big white guy either. The shot caller, you probably don't know who he is, and you don't want to know who he is because you might get your wig split for being fucking nosy. So mind your business. And no, I don't claim to be a shot caller. And just because I'm a big black guy, I wouldn't try to act like a shot caller. When I handle my business, it's quiet. So you don't know what's coming, motherfucker. Anyways, a shot caller is a dude you wouldn't even know of. Nonchalant, quiet, not loud, doesn't hang out. He handles business. And I've seen a couple shot callers, and ain't no one to be fucked with. Quiet dude, wore glasses, maybe 5'5", lightweight, maybe about 140, straight militant. Will bust your motherfucking head in your sleep. Organizes people like he's a commander-in-chief and knows how to conduct business. And a lot of time, these people are on the yard, and you know, they don't really stay on the yard too long because of just politics, and you know, they know how to make shit happen. I was at a particular institution. Shot caller showed up, and you know, he was doing his thing. You know, another clique tried to make him check in or told the people to check him in. Ain't going down. They put together a cold move. Shot caller put it down. He had the motherfuckers who tried to check him in running like a motherfucker. So this dude was he.
Wow. You see what the lesson of the story is there, though? The dude was able to organize. It's all about organization. I don't care where you're at. If you can organize people, man, you can make a change. Whether it just be for your life or apparently even a whole damn institution. You know, that's what I want to bring. You know, I think we had too much of the whole we can or we won't or blah, blah, blah. But I think if we truly organize, we really can. You know, we really can survive what's coming. And speaking of which, let me show you what's coming. Hold on. Let me show you what is coming. Now, this one won't be my words, okay? I will, let's pick this small video
Claire
here.
McCaskill supported a liberal
No,
national energy.
We're not going to have no Claire McCaskill propaganda on this channel. Hold on.
Born in Israel, and it apparently means that the apocalypse is upon us. Finally, I'm so ready for the apocalypse. Welcome back to Inform Overload, where we like to talk about the end of the world and the news. I'm Charlotte Dobre, and if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. The Temple Institute of Jerusalem has announced that on the 17th day of Elul, 5778, translation August 28, 2018, a rare red heifer was born for the first time in 2,000 years. The Institute said that they would be examining the calf to determine if it was, quote, red all over and blemish-free, a true red heifer. A red heifer being born in the Holy Land brings the promise of reinstating biblical purity to the world and the rebuilding of the Holy Temple. So apparently there's this Bible prophecy. There's always a Bible prophecy, isn't there? But according to both Christianity and Judaism, a red heifer is the central piece in the prediction about the end of time.
Why does she keep saying red heifer? It's red heifer.
In the Hebrew Bible, a red cow was brought to priests for sacrifice. The plan is to sacrifice the red cow so the construction can begin on the third temple in Jerusalem. But in order to do that, they need to demolish the current temple on the hill, the Dome of the Rock, which is an Islamic holy temple. Once the temple is rebuilt, the Jewish Messiah will come and humanity will have to face the last judgment. This means two things. If you believe in God, you will be saved. If you don't, you'll be cast into the lake of fire. Yay. I love fire. The thing is, just a little thing, small thing. The birth of this red heifer was not necessarily a natural birth. 3 years ago, the Temple Institute began the Raise a Red Heifer program, where they implanted frozen red Angus cow embryos into the uteruses of traditional Israeli domestic cows. So I don't know if that's going to screw up the whole end of the world thing, but I guess we'll have to wait to find out. Over the last few years, several red cows have been born, but were not completely red, meaning they weren't suitable for the ritual. There have only been 9 red heifers ever to have been born, and the 10th is supposed to be the big one, the apocalyptic one. So right now, the red heifer is going to have to be confirmed to be pure by rabbis over the next 3 months. If it is pure, then it will be sacrificed. The temple will be rebuilt, and then apparently the world will end, and all the non-believers will burn in hell. Cool, guys. Anybody want to go to church with me? Okay, let me know your thoughts on this story.
Okay, well, you know what? She basically said, I mean, that's pretty much what it is. And now let's do this here. Rebuild the temple. And here we go.
Thank you all. And of course, I want to especially welcome Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump.
Where were
Jared
you at?
Kushner
Where were you at when they took over the world?
and Ivanka Trump. Your presence here today is a testament to the importance of this occasion, not only for the Trump administration, but in a very personal way for you. For you, each of you, for the pursuit of peace, and for President Trump himself.
Now, hold on. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let's just take the prophecy just on face value. Building a temple basically equates to death and destruction for all non-Jews, because what they're failing to realize, it's a Jewish temple, not a Christian temple, not a Muslim temple, or anything like that. The Jews are the chosen people, not the Christians, not the Muslims. nothing like that. So according to, it's almost as if this is like a temple war and death. But let's just see what he says.
Thank you. Dear friends, what a glorious day. Remember this moment. This is history. President Trump, by recognizing history, you have made history. So for me, this spot brings back personal memories, but for our people, it evokes profound collective memories of the greatest moments we have known on this city on a hill. In Jerusalem, Abram passed the greatest test of faith and the right to be the father of our nation. In Jerusalem, King David established our capital 3,000 years ago. In Jerusalem, King Solomon built our temple, which stood for many centuries. In Jerusalem, Jewish exiles from Babylon rebuilt the temple, which stood for many more centuries. In Jerusalem, the Maccabees rededicated that temple, and restored Jewish sovereignty in this land. And it was here in Jerusalem, some 2,000 years later, that the soldiers of Israel spoke three immortal words: Hal Habayit B'Yadenu. The Temple Mount is in our hands. The Temple Mount is in our hands. Words that lifted the spirit of the entire nation. We are in Jerusalem and we are here.
Hold on, look at this crowd just 1 second. I'm looking at this crowd. And I still just have to ask this one question. Are these really the descendants of the folks written of in the Bible? Because I don't think there's a true Hebrew Israelite in the whole crowd there. And then the lady in the video right before this, the only reason why I'm bringing this up is when, I talked to Deacon Asaph of the Black Hebrew Israelite. He sent me over some information, and I've been reading it on the side note. And then once I fully digest, I'm definitely calling him back up, and hopefully I can get him on the show or one of his representatives, even one here in the area, and we can talk about a couple of things. But the cow, right, could have been artificially inseminated, felonious. The people, or even the real people, felonious. So even if you use the criteria, would that really meet the criteria in the Bible? I mean, I thought that God was supposed to bring the Jews back to the Holy Land or whatnot, but we kind of find out that's kind of felonious unless you consider the UN God and a bunch of people, their ancestors determining we're going to take this land, kick the Palestinians out, which probably were the remnants of the true people that's been there for quite a while, but just push them off to the side, up against the sea, slap these folks in, and call it a day. Because I have to bring up this video here. I'm just going to segue. It's this one. I don't even want that shit to even come up. Now, just bear with me on this one analogy. Wow. I'm going to hit both these videos. If the Jews that are there in Israel right now aren't really the true Jews, and the people who are like the genetic descendants of the folks in the Bible try to come back, Don't you think like the imposter would not, sort of like the bird that sort of sneaks into another bird's nest, murders the baby bird, throws it overboard. Somehow the baby bird crawls back up the tree. He ain't going to be welcome up in that nest. Just keep that in thought.
Decades of frustration boiled over on the streets of Tel Aviv and across Israel as thousands of Ethiopian Jews protested against discrimination. It wasn't the first time this community has taken to the streets, but now they have the country's attention following a viral video showing 2 Israeli police officers beating an Ethiopian Israeli soldier in uniform. Both officers were fired. But this video was a tipping point, a symptom of a much bigger problem. Ethiopians say they're treated like second-class citizens.
Those young people who were born in Israel and they feel Israelis, but still they are in many points. People see them as Ethiopians.
Mehereta Baruch Ron is the deputy mayor of Tel Aviv, an Ethiopian Jew who came to Israel when she was 10 years old, escaping Ethiopia on foot before she could fly to Israel.
The Ethiopian Jews dreamed for 2,000 years to get to Jerusalem.
Baruch Ron is a success story for the Ethiopian community, from an illiterate immigrant to a city and community leader. Many of the 140,000 Ethiopian Jews living in Israel today came over in 2 massive airlifts in the late 80s and early 90s. The Ethiopians were welcomed with open arms, but the dream gave way to new challenges. The government set up these absorption centers throughout Israel to help Ethiopians get used to a new country. The trouble is, too often, Ethiopians say they struggle to find acceptance. Unemployment in the Ethiopian community is 13%, nearly 3 times the national average. And Ethiopians earn a third less than Israelis. According to Tabeka, an Ethiopian advocacy group, less than 2% of Israelis are Ethiopians. Ethiopians make up nearly 20% of the youth prison populations. Ethiopians have been protesting discrimination for years, especially in 2013 after the government admitted to coaxing Ethiopian women into taking birth control before moving to Israel. But this time, the protests made a difference. The Prime Minister promised to end racism in Israel, while the Chief of Police is working to end police discrimination.
Stop. Yeah. Now, how the fuck can you have discrimination in Israel when the whole state was supposed to have been created because the Jews were being discriminated in the worst of ways in Germany? Once again, the puzzle. Look at this. He's looking down. He has his hand out now. This poor guy, soldier. Well, this is the part that got me. Without that videotape right here. Hold on. Where's he at? Without this videotape, this could be in any street in America.
Israeli soldier.
Look at that. That's in Israel. 2-on-1. Bit. All right. Let's go back and see the other video.
Thank you all.
Do Black Lives Matter in Israel? If you ask some of the Ethiopian Jews who are citizens of the state, it doesn't feel that way. They've taken to the streets over the past several weeks to protest police brutality and racism in Israeli society. And this shouldn't be confused with the recent protests of African migrants who aren't Jewish and are seeking asylum. But back to the Ethiopians. These waves of protests were ignited in April after a video went viral of police violently beating an Israeli soldier of Ethiopian descent. And as Israel-based journalist and filmmaker David Sheen told me, that struck a chord with many.
Pretty much every single Ethiopian Jewish man in this country can speak to that experience. Either he's experienced it personally, or his brother, or his uncle, or his friends have been the victims of police brutality.
So what should you know about the Ethiopian Jewish community in Israel? Today, at least 135,000 Ethiopian Jews live in the country, which is approximately 2% of the population.
Now, once again, I have to make so many breaks, for copyright, blah, blah, blah. But, oh my God. Do we not understand when we're dealing with religious states as such? The savage tree those 2 cops were doing against the soldier, the brother man that was a soldier. If they had the power, they could do that to any Gentile. Now, granted, you know, let's face it, who's the can they like to kick the most? We already should know. But just keep that in mind. I mean, this is very dangerous. Very dangerous. I mean, you know, the whole state was supposed to be founded because they were being discriminated. But oops, you know, like Kurt Russell said, the more they change, the more things stay the same.
Many of them arrived after Israel airlifted them out during the years of the famine in the 1980s and 90s. Before that, thousands of Ethiopians tried to reach Israel by land, many dying on the journey. But today, despite the fact that these Black Jews of Israel are citizens of the state, which entitles them to equal protection under Israeli law, and despite the fact that they serve in the Israeli army and speak fluent Hebrew, they have long been the victims of systemic discrimination. Just how bad is it?
Obviously, being the darkest hued Jews in the country, they face color-based discrimination that's not unlike in the United States and other parts of the world. The Ethiopian community has not.
It's so bad that they can't even get a Black person apparently to speak for it. I don't know who this guy is, but you can see how. Let's listen to him. The darkest hue.
The darkest hued.
Look at that eye twitch. That should let you know there's some things happening in the brain here, man. I wouldn't necessarily call the skinhead here your friend.
Jews in the country, they face color-based discrimination that's not unlike in the United States and other.
Now, see how everyone loves throw when we talk about racist behavior, United States. United States. So, Jesus, man. I wish this could be made up.
Parts of the world. The Ethiopian community has not been allowed to access to housing all over the country. They were sent to certain communities and other communities refused them. They were sent to certain schools and other schools refused them.
They've also suffered endemic poverty. At least 65% of Ethiopian children live below the poverty line.
Wow. I mean, go figure. Black folks in Israel doing bad. I mean, it'd be crazy to say that maybe this is all by design.
Just 5% of the community have college degrees, compared with 28% of the broader Jewish population. And on top of that, 1/5 of the inmates in juvenile facilities are Ethiopian Israelis. As organizer Moria Zalka told me, the younger generation of Ethiopian Israelis are fighting to change all of that.
We were born here, we were raised here, we got the education here. So we know our rights, we know what we want. Until we won't see a result, but true result and a long-term results, we won't stop.
So given the community's demands for social justice today, what is the government doing? Well, Prime Minister Netanyahu met with the Ethiopian Israeli soldier who was beaten by police and told him, Netanyahu repeated that sentiment at an annual memorial for the 4,000 Ethiopian Jews who died on their way to Israel years ago, saying there is no place for racism and discrimination in our society. He's also set up a ministerial committee to eradicate racism. But is that enough?
Better than what we got cracking. We don't have no fucking... I just had to stop it for copyrights. Let the bullshit play.
Many Black Jews believe that change will only come with a change of consciousness among Israelis as a whole. And given how small the Ethiopian community is and the fact that it doesn't have a lot of political power, how optimistic should folks be that the government will once and for all address these long-standing concerns?
Anyhow, hopefully you're seeing the trend here, guys. All right. I want to touch on something that was brought up last night. I should have reached out to my buddy down south there. I'm sure he would have known a lot more, but I want to look at Task Force Dagger. Now, all this, once again, can be hold on. All right, let's just see what it's generally about.
From Army Special Operations Command, Fort Bragg, North Carolina, this is a USASOC update. During an overcast November afternoon, more than 100 soldiers and veterans of Task Force Dagger gathered together at Meadows Field, headquarters, U.S. Army Special Operations Command, Fort Bragg, North Carolina, for a memorial stone dedication.
We had extraordinary men who were prepared to take on our nation's most difficult and dangerous enemies, who knew how to operate in uncertain environments, how to problem solve in those environments, and how to consistently develop the appropriate courses of action needed to get the job done.
They were members of the 5th Special Forces Group, Airborne, from Fort Campbell, Kentucky. They made up the core of Joint Special Operations North, called Task Force Dagger. Supporting Task Force Dagger were aviators from the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment and Special Tactics personnel from the Air Force Special Operations Command.
They got me in there. These guys met me. They already had the situation figured out. And, man, they took me in and really took care of me. And I'll always be grateful for how I was treated by these guys.
Task Force Dagger launched its first teams into Afghanistan in mid-October amidst unexpected terrain.
Immediately hit a sandstorm. We were on terrain following radar, which previously we'd never tested in combat. We tested in peacetime.
They slid into the darkness onto mountains up to 16,000 feet high, with clouds, rain, dramatically limiting visibility.
So now here you are flying 100 feet off the ground, blind, can't see outside the cockpit, using terrain following radar. And then, so now you think you're through the worst part, and then you hit the Pandashir mountain range. You have to climb up to levels above 14,000 feet, go on oxygen, still in the clouds. You transition from dust to clouds.
Despite the risks, all insertions were accomplished without major incident. They watched with pride during the stone's unveiling. Comments made by senior leaders painted the picture of a successful mission and the ones who made it possible.
I mean, it was the beginning of things that we didn't even really realize. The integration of the ODAs with the Air Force, using air power to drive the Taliban out of Afghanistan.
For those who attended the Memorial Stone dedication event, it was worth the travel.
And, you know, even though fate and the Army and the Air Force has scattered us about, to be able to come back and see some of these old friends and share some of those memories with them was really wonderful.
For a group of specially trained and specially equipped soldiers, this was their moment.
We're actually here to see it, and so it means a lot to me. It means a lot to what we did on the ground.
Damn, a lot of
as
brass.
a force and as a small unit, and what we accomplished with just the little, a little amount of technology on the ground.
It was a time to look back and reflect on how the synchronization and interdependence across the special operations and intelligence communities and gut determination of the soldiers of Task Force Dagger enabled the success of this historical mission.
We are stronger together than we are independently. And we figured out early on that the Army, the Air Force, the State Department, all the government agencies, they bring all these tools together, and we are better together than we are separately. Going there. So that's the key thing about interdependence. And it really started, we really started to build that with Task Force Dagger, and it carried on into the last 12 years.
For USASOC Public Affairs, this has been a USASOC update. From Army Special...
All right, there you go, folks. That was Task Force Dagger. Did not know. Basically, I'm just wondering what type of technology they got. Hold on. Sometimes I find something vaguely interesting. I don't understand why they even get these guys. Wow. Hold on. What? This thing only has... It's fucked up. Hold on, what's this?
Or does he fight solely because he enjoys the thrill of combat? these are my words, the warrior runs to the guns out of love for those on his or her left and right.
People of character, people with moral courage, people that are leading will always run to the guns. Our business is religion. It's dealing with faith. It's dealing with families and soldiers from a religious aspect. We should be able to run to the hurting families. We should be able to run to the hurting soldiers and those hurting civilians, that are in our footprint in Building 2929. So whatever it takes to be on that cutting edge of ministry and providing care for soldiers and families, we need to be willing to do that. We need to be able to go the second mile. Run to the guns. What does that mean for us? Run to the families and the individuals that need our help. The conference was the USASOC Leadership Training. It's an annual event that we try to bring in as many religious support teams under the USASOC enterprise as we can get. The intent of the conference was really to develop leaders, leadership training.
All right. Well, I kind of get where we're going at with that. That's I don't really have nothing to say either. Not obviously nothing bad about that. I mean, you talk about when people are dying, that's when religion matters the most. Honestly, I'm just gonna say it like that. You can have your opinion about religion, about spirituality, all you want, but when that loved one comes back, and they come back in a box or something, that's when it matters. So, yeah, man, that's rough. But I can't let that get me off focus here. All right. Now, I want to get back to Israel real quick and just to wrap it up. Why was Israel created? Oh. Okay, I'm gonna play this one right here because it's only 3 minutes because I want to keep it short. But I can already tell you right now, this is gonna be some fuck shit propaganda. I can already tell by that fucking headline. But let's see what they say.
May 14th, 1948, 4 p.m. Tel Aviv. On a small podium stands a determined Zionist leader before a hastily convened gathering, reading out a proclamation which would change the course of history. This is how the State of Israel was born. First, a bit of background. At the end of World War I, the Allied powers gained control over the Middle East, including the land of Israel. The League of Nations recognized a historical connection of the Jewish people to their land and granted Great Britain a mandate to help them reconstitute a national home. However, Arab riots and geopolitical considerations led to a series of British restrictions on Jewish development and immigration. Even ships, including displaced children and the Holocaust survivors, were sent back to Europe. Jewish resistance grew as well. By 1947, the ball was back in the United Nations Court, where a majority of the nations decided on November 29th, after a tense vote, to divide the land into a Jewish and an Arab state. The Jews rejoiced. The local Arab population, well, they launched a war throughout the country. May 15th, 1948 was the date the British Mandate officially ended, the date the Jewish state was to be declared, and the date 5 regular Arab armies planned a coordinated attack to annihilate the newborn state. On May 12th, David Ben-Gurion convened the People's Council. The atmosphere was grave. Moshe Sharett reported that the Americans are demanding a postponement of the declaration, or else they would not help Israel against the United Arab invasion. Golda Meir reported that King Abdullah had retracted his original agreement and will join the attack. Military leaders expressed serious doubts about the ability of the small Jewish community to withstand 5 regular Arab armies equipped with European weaponry. But somehow, after 13 hours of deliberations, Ben-Gurion succeeds in swaying the balance against the American demand. And on Friday, May 14th, in the presence of local Jewish leaders, he declares the establishment of the State of Israel. The proclamation, which was inspired by the American Declaration of Independence, asserted the historical and moral rights of the Jewish people in its historic homeland and defined Israel as a Jewish democratic state based on equal rights, freedom, and justice. The declaration ended with a call on Jews to return home and extended a hand for peace towards the local Arab population and neighboring Arab countries. The Arab invasion was immediate and lasted for over a year. Close to 50% of Israel's small fighting force were survivors of the Nazi death camps who vowed never again. 1 out of every 100 Jews living in Israel died in the fighting. But by the end of the war, the small Jewish state had emerged victorious as an independent nation in its homeland for the first time in 2,000 years.
Honestly, I really can't, even though I know the animation was kind of shady there, as far as factual concerns, that was pretty accurate, okay? So, now, we understand why Israel was made. One more search. We're going to search passage in the Bible, the generation that see Israel restored when all perish before Christ returns. I'm going to write that all out, so bear with me. Okay. Totally paraphrase that shit. Yeah, here we go.
Will not pass away until all these things take place.
Now, hold on. Let's just go back just here.
A couple other parallel verses. Truly, I say to you, this generation will not pass away until all these things take place. Basically, his statement was, Jesus said, and this is Joey talking, Jesus said that the end was coming before this generation has passed away, meaning his generation, you idiot. Well, that's not what he meant, Joey. If you read the scriptures here, go to Matthew 24 and take a look. First off, there's a couple different ways you can render this passage here, and I'll get to the different ways, but here we go. What Jesus is talking about, the concepts surrounding this verse are very important. I'm going to start reading at verse 29 to show what this is talking about. Verse 29, immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from heaven and the powers of heaven will be shaken. Verse 30, then will appear in heaven the sign of the Son of Man. And then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds.
Stop, though. Now, I'm doing this for a couple reasons, folks. The copyright thing. But then, too, who's in a tribe nowadays, though, for real? I get we're all in, most of us are all in nations. There's a few tribes, actual tribes here and there. I don't know. Let's continue.
Of heaven with power and great glory. Verse 31, and he will send out his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Verse 32, from the fig tree learn its lesson. As soon as its branch becomes tender and puts out its leaves, you know that summer is near. Verse 33, so also when you see all these things, you know that he is near, at the very gates. Then verse 34, truly I say to you, this generation will not pass away until all these things take place. Verse 35, heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. Did you guys catch that? Jesus is talking about this end times generation. He's not talking about the generation.
Also, heaven and earth will. I thought this was supposed to be a world without end. Hold on. So you guys, I gotta check that out real quick. Bible verse. Come on. I can't. New World Order Bible. Sounds creepy.
Chapter 3 even lays out what's of scoffers. 2 Peter 3, verse 3. Knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers walking after their own lust. Today, it's increasingly unpopular to uphold the Bible as truth. Even in many Protestant churches today, Bible stories are held up as works of fiction in order to convey to the reader a broader point.
No, stop that. The only reason why they're saying it's fiction is to keep those fucking plates of crack with money, because a lot more people are actually thinking about what they're saying and seeing how there's such a huge disconnect. The preachers don't know how to slick that down like they used to when people couldn't research nothing. That's the reason why. I understand this guy's spin on it, but let's see.
Most Christian universities today teach evolution as fact and the biblical six-day creation as just fanciful writing.
I wonder why.
This verse in 2 Peter chapter 3 even lays out what some of the scoffing is all about. A biblical worldwide flood, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished. 2 Peter 3, verse 6. Today, this is one of the most scoffed at notions in religious and secular universities, that a worldwide flood actually took place and wiped out almost all of humanity. Yet the verses clearly state that scoffers will come and focus on the flood in the last days. Number 6, perilous times. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy. And then in verse 4, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God. Can anyone with an accurate view of history identify a more evident time where people openly sinned in public without a care about who knew or who was watching? University students walking around displaying sexual replicas of male anatomy are openly admitting the sins of the Bible and being allowed to maintain a status of authority. Or how about a legal system that allows the open murder of human beings and a government that pays for it all? The whole world, all of it, has forgotten what sin is and is no longer shamed by it. We've come to hate good and love evil. We hate life and we love death. As Paul wrote, these indeed are the perilous times of the last days. Number 5, moving at light speed. Daniel chapter 12, verse 4. But you, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. The time of the end, it says. Many shall run to and fro. Today, you can board a plane in New York City and in less than 24 hours be in some of the most remote parts of China. This was unheard of just 100 years ago. When you look out of an airplane at the clouds below, do you realize that you're seeing something that 99.999% of all of humanity that has ever lived on planet Earth has never seen before? Today, people make trips across the country every holiday season, trips that even 100 years ago would have been only one way for most people. People today are truly running to and fro. And knowledge shall be increased, it says. It's impossible today to actually calculate how much information is on the internet. Knowledge has grown beyond the ability to actually measure it, literally. Today, you can go on YouTube and learn how to be a mechanic, or how to fly a plane, or grow onions, or install solar panels. You can literally learn any aspect of world history, biology, mathematics.
So therefore, why do we need to keep on paying these public ass schools that are just churning out mindless zombies?
Engineering, and all from multiple points of view. Knowledge has increased at the time of the end. Number 4, the fullness of the Gentiles. Romans 11, verse 25. For I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you would be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel, until the fullness of the Gentiles come in. Many Christians might be familiar with this verse, but many fail to understand that Paul is referencing the prophecy given by Jacob to his grandson Ephraim back in Genesis and a verse in Daniel. And Joseph said unto his father, Not so, my father, for this is the firstborn. Put thy right hand upon his head. And his father refused and said, I know it, my son, I know it. And he also shall be a people, and he also shall be great. But truly his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his seed shall become a multitude of nations. Jacob told Joseph that his son Ephraim would be great amongst the nations, the Gentiles, not great as in powerful, but great as in numbers. And remember the verse we just read in Daniel chapter 12? Well, if you keep reading, you get to verse 7. And when he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. This verse also is directly connected to the prophecy given by Jacob and spoken of by Paul in Romans chapter 11. We, you and I, happen to live in a place in history where all of the earth has been explored and its people groups have been made known to each other. With the exception of a tribe or two of people located deep in the Amazon, all of humanity has been discovered and explored over the entire...
Wait. You know, look how dismissive that dude is. Oh, yeah, this, everybody's been found, There's a couple of people in the jungle, but fuck them. The verse said everyone, right? They're people as well.
Planet. What does this mean? It means that humanity has encompassed the earth as a whole. We're everywhere. The seed of Jacob has become a multitude of nations, and the fullness of the Gentiles is ready to come in. Number 3, the EnviroPig and chimeras. Isaiah 66, verse 17. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one in the midst, eating swine's flesh, the abomination, and the mouse shall be consumed together, says the Lord. Now, most Bible scholars will agree that this last chapter of Isaiah is about the final judgment of God and the millennial 1,000-year reign of the coming Messiah. And that when he comes, people will be eating swine's flesh, the abomination, and the mouse together. Just a few years ago, a university in Canada successfully created what they called the EnviroPig, a pig that grew faster and produced less methane gas, making it cleaner for the environment. They achieved this feat by combining the pig with DNA from a mouse and E. coli bacteria. E. coli bacteria comes from fecal matter in the intestines. Let's read it again. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. They, eating swine's flesh, the abomination, the mouse, shall be consumed together. Because of a public outcry on the project, both the FDA and Health Canada shelved the requested approval, and the Canadian University stored the genetic DNA of the project until a later date. But universities and other agencies have since taken the data from the project and used it to further develop and alter pig DNA with mice DNA, along with the DNA of E. coli bacteria. The technological marvel of mixing pig with mice DNA and the DNA of E. coli bacteria is something you could only see in these last days. Number 2, the Rosetta Stone Age. Genesis 11, verse 6 through 7. And the Lord said, Behold, the people are one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. Let's think about this. All of humanity has been divided by speech since Genesis. God specifically says that...
Or ever since different people kind of came to Earth,
This language division is to keep man from doing whatever they can imagine to do. Today, you have devices such as the Pilot and computer programs to overcome most language obstacles. Even Google has translation ability built into its search engine that translates in real time. It's safe to say that the barrier God placed upon humanity back in Genesis has been removed, or soon will be. Today, you have genetic experiments and government projects like CERN that involve dozens of countries and their top scientists. There are no language barriers in these projects anymore. The last time humanity had the ability to communicate without obstruction, the creator of heaven and earth decided to step in. With the removal of language barriers so close to becoming a reality, the involvement once again by our Heavenly Father must be close at hand. Number 1, the return of obedience. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 30, and chapter 30, verse 1 through 3. It was prophesied by Jacob, Moses, and the prophets that those of Israel would be conquered and scattered thin among the nations of the Gentiles. They were conquered because of their disobedience at hearing and doing the commandments, statutes, and judgments of God. But one day they would again turn their hearts to God and begin to be obedient. Consider these verses from Deuteronomy chapter 4. And the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and you shall be left few in number among the heathen where the Lord shall lead you. But if from thence you seek the Lord thy God, you shall find him. And if you seek him with all your heart and with all your soul, then when you are in tribulation and all these things are come upon you, even in the latter days, if you turn to the Lord your God and shall be obedient unto his voice. You shall therefore keep his statutes and his commandments, which I command you this day, that it may go well with you and with your children after you, and that you may prolong thy days upon the earth, which the Lord thy God gives thee forever. And then consider this in Deuteronomy chapter 30.
Wait. Stop 1 second. Remember that one verse we already saw, guys, where it said the earth will pass away? Now, how can you make this statement? Days upon the earth, which the Lord thy God giveth thee forever.
Forever. And then consider this in Deuteronomy chapter 30. And it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon you, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before you, and you shall call them to mind among all the nations where the Lord thy God has driven you, and shall return unto the Lord thy God, and shall obey his voice according to all that I command you this day, you and your children, with all your heart and with all your soul. That when the Lord thy God turns your captivity and has compassion upon you, and will return and gather you from all the nations where the Lord thy God has scattered you. There is a huge movement growing among the people of the world to once again hear the words given by God to Moses and to return to those ways, to begin to obey the commandments, statutes, and judgments, to keep.
Okay. Now, hold on. Find it interesting. First time I tried to apparently this is big. Hold on.
The boss, he keeps hiring immigrants. I get it. They work for less. But guys like me, we can't compete. We got families, homes, and bills to pay. If we cut back on immigration, guys like me would have a chance at it.
What, to be a slave, wage slave?
What do Kendrick Lamar and Kodak Black have in common? Wait, this sounds like a trick question, I know, but it's not. Yes, Kendrick Lamar is considered by some as one of the greatest rappers of our generation, with his intricate wordplay, complex metaphor, and attention to cultural activism. Now, Kodak may not get the same kind of love, but they're both influenced by the Hebrew Israelites.
I'm an Israelite, don't call me black no more. That word is only a color, it ain't facts no more.
I don't wear crosses no more, Yahshua's coming back. I ain't scared of losses no more, I see life in that. Hey, hey, I'm an Israelite, my diamonds Israelites.
You're probably wondering, what? Black Israelites? Yeah, but it's not what you think. In a deeply reported article on Genius by writer Sam Kestenbaum, we see how small spiritual movement is influencing the bars of some of your favorite artists. They're called the Hebrew Israelites. They're primarily made up by people of color who believe that they are the true descendants of the 12 tribes of Israel. They emerged after the Reconstruction era as Jim Crow laws curtailed civil rights in the war-ravaged South and racial violence swept across the country. At that time, the group believed that their enslavement was punishment for disobeying God. Kestenbaum writes, quote, Hebrew Israelites point to the chapter of Deuteronomy 28, in particular a passage that describes how the biblical Israelites will be sent back in ships to Egypt for their disobedience to God, as a prophetic foretelling of the enslavement of African people in the Americas. But wait, did that Bible chapter ring any bells? Well, if you paid any attention to Kendrick Lamar's Damn, the song Fear should have come to mind. In a voicemail that opens the song, Kendrick's cousin Carl Duckworth, known in the Hebrew Israelite community as Carney Ben Israel, is heard discussing that same chapter.
Deuteronomy 28 and 28 says, the Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart.
Kendrick was supposedly blown away by this verse during study sessions with his cousin Duckworth. However, Lamar is not a member of the group. Meanwhile, Kodak Black met an Israelite teacher during his last stint in prison. After his release, Black seemingly declared his membership in the organization in an Instagram post donning the Jewish Star of David. Feeling like I'm Kuta Kente because we going through slavery still. I can't lie, I'm #Israel, #12 Tribes of Israel. Black and Lamar aren't the first rappers to be down with the Israelites. In 1998, Killer Priest shouted them out on his song One Step.
Early daters related to the thrones of David, captured by some patriots and thrown on slave ships.
And a Hebrew Israelite joined Dougie Fresh in his 1988 music video, Keep Rising to the Top.
Handed out his hand to me and asked me, would I rock the microphone? I just gave him a pound and I said shalom.
Some in the Hebrew Israelite community are a little iffy towards all this famous attention. Instead, they prefer folks listen to rappers that are actually part of the community.
Just got the pack through the mail, got me building up my clientele. Neighbors trying to see what he sell, but the gospel is what I tell.
Black queens in the projects, black kings in the prison. They were still in the slave trade. Just switched up the system. Get back to commandments. Only way we gon' get home.
These rappers is lying, our leaders is weak, man. It ain't no question. Who got the answers though? We the Israelites, we got the answers though.
And remember Chingy?
I know way you do that right there, right there. Switch it and walk and let down your hair,
That has all changed. He's down with the Israelites too. And in 2013, he made it known with King Judah.
In the kitchen cooking up, trying to bake a pie. I'm reading about my past deception, trying to cremate a lie. Guess I should talk about bottles, girls, the hood, and guns. I've gotten sick of that you son of sin, I'm God's son.
So why now? Well, it could be because of the bleakness of our present time. Police brutality, an unstable political system, and global warming are pushing many to seek solace in alternative movements.
Really, no one's tripping on global warming, homie. Seriously, nobody. You were cool with the bleak times, political system, yeah. But also, people just know that a lot of that stuff is just, not true. Straight up. Bubba Dick Gregory. I should have made the call when I had the chance.
Predominantly black, Hollywood has never made a major film for the masses in this way before. Most would like to see it as progress, and because of this desire, our brains are turned off to what is being promoted. The black community has gone in great numbers to view this film wearing African garments, referring to Wakanda as if it is an actual representation of us. It first needs to be understood that Black Panther is not a black movie. It was not funded nor produced by the black community, though it was written and directed by Ryan Coogler, a black man, and the cast was majority black. It was funded and produced by the Marvel Corporation, which is owned and run by Walt Disney Corporation. This is a Disney film, and the board members and executive level management of Disney are not black. This is a company that has funded a massive amount of witchcraft and deception throughout the world for decades. They have always had other motives that are more of a priority than promoting the black community with strength, dignity, and unity. So everyone that believes that Black Panther is something done to bring unity and strength in the black community are deceived. It's the same deception that allowed us to think that this nation would allow there to be a black president that was not controlled by the same elite that built and to this day controls this country. Most believe these lies because they do not either know about the inner workings of most things, or they just choose to be ignorant and take things at just face value. Black Panther is not a black movie. It is a movie created by an elite corporation, mostly run by white people, who have casted black people to represent what they want us to see. They have never just funded movies that do not promote their agenda, and Black Panther is not the exception. So if you understand this, you should then try to examine, what are they trying to tell us? Now, a problem with entertainment, particularly when it's good and well-funded, is that they can trap you in with tons of graphics and special effects, a lot of good action scenes, a good storyline, and very good actors and actresses that keep you mesmerized, not allowing you to properly dissect what you're watching. If you do not train yourself to watch things, to not be just entertained, but to see what the director is trying to convey, you will always be deceived, and you will always be just a pawn in their grand scheme. The first part is simple. The African culture, Black Americans. If you pay close attention to what I say, please note I have never said African American. Black Americans do not share the culture that is promoted in this film. Africa is a continent, not a nation. Not all culture in Africa is the same. It's like saying Mexicans have the same culture as Canadians because they're from the same continent. Ryan Coogler, writer and director of the movie, said, and I quote, "We were making a film about what it means to be African." When Ryan Coogler looked for inspiration for this film, he went to South Africa. The descendants of Black America are not said to be descendants of South Africa. So why are we trying so hard to identify with their culture? Because most of the Black community has not been to Africa, it's very easy for Hollywood and the elites to create the depiction of the African culture that we're supposed to get accustomed to. So for the majority, it's either the culture of South Africa, Ghana, Nigeria, or it's Egypt. Mind you, and none of those countries claim us as their kin, nor do their people tell stories about how a majority of their people were stolen from their land over 500 years ago. This is just a promotion of false culture that deceives us and keeps us from understanding our true heritage. The only fact that the Black community knows for sure is that our history and knowledge of where we come from was taken from us. When we blindly grab at the culture that we do not know if we're actually descendants of, we can become dangerously deceived and practice rituals and customs that are to our detriment. What if none of the culture that we're claiming to be a part of has anything to do with our true culture? Now, I know that Black Panther is nowhere close to the first perpetrators of this lie, but based on how the Black community is acting, literally wearing dashikis to a movie premiere because it's about a Black nation in Africa, just highlights just how mind-controlled we are and desperate for an identity, that we follow anyone or anything that seems to give us power and identity. Now, the reason I had to address this first is because of the bigger part of the problem with the movie and the acceptance of a lot of African culture. Away from the action and special effects in the movie, there was a big promotion of the culture of the Wakandans. This is one of the main undertones of the movie that must be understood. Remember, Coogler said they were making a film about what it means to be African. A big part of some African culture consists of paganism, the worship of many gods, and witchcraft. This was not ignored in this movie, but highlighted and emphasized. A majority of the first hour of the movie was surrounded by Wakandan culture. It displayed the practices of juju, which is simply a spiritual belief system incorporating objects such as amulets and spells used in religious practice as part of witchcraft in West Africa. This was done specifically when the king becomes Black Panther. There was ancestral worship, like when the king's mother, Ramonda, played by Angela Bassett, called upon the ancestors for their help bringing back her son.
Call upon the ancestors. Call upon Mask. I'm here with my son, T'Challa. Heal him.
She even says she communed with her dead husband often.
Your father and I will talk about this day all the time. He is with us.
This is a known form of witchcraft in which many cultures, not just African, partake in. There's the animal and shape-shifting spirits that is the main part of the movie. Anytime the king transformed into the Black Panther, he would shape-shift into the panther. This again is a form of witchcraft. And there was also the necromancy, which is the practice of communicating with the dead, especially in order to predict the future. The Black Panther did this multiple times, was speaking to his dead father about how he would rule as king and what he should do.
The time has come for you to come home, to be reunited with me. You were wrong to abandon me. I chose my beauty. cannot stay here with you. I cannot rest while he sits on the throne. He is a monster of our own making. I must take the mantle back. I must right these wrongs.
All these practices are specifically expressed against in Scripture, and when they are done by his children, it provokes the Lord to anger. This is specifically stated in Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 9 through 11, and 2 Chronicles chapter 33, when speaking about Manasseh. These practices are all a form of witchcraft. When the Black Panther position is challenged, he drinks something that can be compared to blood that removes the power of the Black Panther. When he becomes the Black Panther, he's actually being possessed by the Black Panther spirit, which to them is a gift. If you just do some basic research on Marvel Wiki, it gives background on everything Marvel. It brings clarity on the Black Panther. The potion that the Black Panther drinks to get the Black Panther power, the one Eric Killmonger, played by Michael B. Jordan, ordered to be burned, was called the heart-shaped herb. And according to Marvel, it was a gift from the Panther god, the deity they worshipped. What they don't say in the movie is that the Black Panther, King T'Challa, is actually the leader of the Black Panther cult. The Black Panther cult is the actual religion of the Wakandans. The Wakandans have ties to the ancient gods of Africa that were also worshipped in Egypt. They were claimed to be ancient beings who visited the earth millennia ago, very similar to what we know today as the Anunnaki. This is always the lie that is told, because it always goes back to Baal or Satan worship. This movie is full of witchcraft practices. It is a ploy of using the Black community's desire for a represented culture to push them into acceptance of Black magic and witchcraft, pushing the lie that these practices are from our heritage and witchcraft should be accepted as normal. So we are now in a time where people are denouncing the Bible and belief in Christ and are doing the things that are explicitly spoken against. They are promoting darkness as light, and the masses, particularly Christians, are accepting it because so many are desperate to claim a culture. They take on rituals and culture that is actually demonic and satanic, but ignore it because it's put under the general label of African. They replace the God we serve through the mass marketing of a film that they have presented to us as a gift to bring out Black strength, representation, and unity. It's ridiculous.
I wasn't expecting that breakdown. I thought he was just gonna basically go on how Killmonger represented, frustration and basically betrayed and blah blah blah. But yeah, I totally see where old boy's coming from. Alrighty, I'm going on 2 hours here, man. I haven't had no breaks. I really wasn't expecting to do such a long video. Honestly, I was expecting only to do like 15 minutes of that. Kind of went over that by a few times, but Israelites, the end of the world, exposing. What the hell? How's that guy exposing anything? What's this brother saying? Somebody's monetized.
Go back historically. The tribe that lived in this portion of Israel was Judah. Okay? We know Judah was defeated in 586.
Oh, this.
The Negev. And said to the forest of the Negev, hear the word of Yah. Thus said Yah, our God, behold, I'm going to south and
that's just too messed up. Okay. Those people are crazy. These not Planet X people. It'd be kind of nice if aliens did come down and whatever, but
Oh man, we have the king, the original king, stepping on over here. Hello.
Hi. We are here with Giancarlo, who plays King T'Chaka.
Yes, indeed. It's been a great honor and a pleasure. Yes, good.
Now, we got to meet you in Captain America Civil War, and you really established the accent and language for Wakanda. How does that feel to know that that's now spurred into this whole movie?
Yes, indeed. You know, we've watched too many movies of Tarzan in Africa, and we haven't found this legend. When our grandfathers tell a story, there was no white man living with apes. So when I was talking to my son in Captain America, I asked the director, why am I speaking English? We're from Wakanda, and that's how I introduced isiXhosa. The line is simple. I miss you, my son. I haven't seen you for a long time. In my language, so that's how. And then Africa celebrated absolutely from Cape to Cairo. People are just wonderful. Now they're expecting this blockbuster, which is another African input into Hollywood, which is incredible for all of us.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. What do you think this movie, this Black Panther solo movie, is going to mean for the continent of Africa?
Well, this movie is going to deal with the myth that if the white colonialists did not land in Africa, we'd still be walking in skins and chasing each other. This movie will prove we built the pyramids in Egypt. Will prove the Timbuktu libraries of the history of mankind is in Africa. Will prove that the Zimbabwe ruins were built by us. Will prove that the cradle of humankind is in Southern Africa. So this is one time where African people are shown the fullest potential when they are able to travel from space and back with incredible technology. So for us, there's a little seriousness about this movie, about this first attempt, and especially with Ryan Coogler, who we loved his work in Creed with Michael B. Jordan. So we were so happy that there was this African-American, we're all Africans anyway, it's African boxer. So this movie is awaited with incredible anticipation. Everybody's saying, when is it being released? When is it being released?
It's being released on February 16th, so that's what everyone needs to remember. Thank you so much for...
Yeah, they just show him down in there. Hold on, I want to see this.
Why you leave the man alone? You proposed to him. When you leave the man alone, you can't know when to stop. When people tell you stop. You don't want to know. You can't hear the man don't want to know.
People like the cameras nowadays. The older you actually know something you're off the fucking bus. That's what I say. People now, that's not the new people. The cameras. Cameras are older kids. Yeah.
Why you leave the man alone?
If this was an older buses, I swear to you, know something else.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Oh. Wow, that's fucked up.
I'm a bit brighter than you, love. A lot brighter. You might be, love. A lot brighter. And you can test me on history, geography, politics, anything you want. But what I've heard from you today is worse than what I hear from children in school playgrounds. That's how much you know.
What are you doing in children's playgrounds?
I didn't say I was in the children's playground.
No, but you're hearing it in the children's playground.
That's what I've heard.
No, I hear this, I hear that. Is somebody speaking to you from up there?
Are you walking through?
No, are you?
Oh, here, listen.
No,
I understand. I haven't said a word. Keep the mouth shut then. Keep it shut. If you've nothing better to say, keep it shut. You disputed me and this man when we were on about the death penalty. End of story. That's how this started.
Will you check on that?
That's how this started.
Will you check?
If you disagree,
So white on white violence.
that is hanging the fences in England. You are off your trolley. Absolutely.
There still is a law.
There's no law about hanging in this country. You're talking shit. There's no law about hanging in America. They don't do hangings, love.
And don't hang them in America, they give them the old pill.
They don't hang them, exactly. And they don't do it here. And they don't
Yeah,
do
but
it
you
here.
don't see truth everything.
I know that.
Because nobody's done anything.
Nobody's done anything wrong. Nobody's done anything wrong. Nobody beheaded anybody on the streets of London. Is that what you're saying?
I didn't say
Nobody's done anything wrong, is what you were going with.
No, that is a different thing I say. What did I say?
Nobody's done anything because what? Because nobody's what?
About the royalty.
Nobody's done anything wrong because nobody's what? Done anything wrong?
No, the royalty.
So what about royalty?
And the shipyards and anything else.
What
Come on, let's get to the fight, guys.
Absolutely. So what did you serve us? Serve in the kitchen, did you?
Oh, this is such clickbait. There is no fight. Whatever. All right, well, that's basically all. I guess I'll leave it with this final thought where I take off. If I could go to sleep finally. I'm finally tired enough to go to sleep. And it's only 4 o'clock in the morning. Use your brains. Think shit through. And choose to be kinder to each other. See y'all tomorrow. Bye.